Welcome, everyone, and I'm delighted to have Paul Miles and Mirko Prakari here. We're going to chat about agility today. This is all kind of a fundraiser campaign, really, for UNHCR. They've got a UK presence and they've got a big campaign to help people who are struggling with the situation in Ukraine at the moment, the refugee situation and so on. So feel free to send in your questions and we'd be delighted to answer, but also, just try to send in those donations as well. And we'll keep you posted as well how those donations are going during this next hour or so. The first topic we're going to talk about is certifications. And Paul, this is something that you brought up earlier today, certifications. What's your view of the world there? What do you think is going on? All these certifications in agile and so on.
Well, thanks, John. I think for the most part, in the agility world, it's still about delivering, right? And I'm just finding that people are rushing out getting certifications because customers are pressing. We want to see a business degree, or we want to see a engineering degree. We want to see scaled agile. We want to see product owner certifications. And I think that most of those they're good to have, of course, because you're learning something. But at the end of the day, you still have to deliver. And I'm kind of finding that people are kind of leaning more on the theory as opposed to the technical delivery, if you will. I'm kind of seeing that more and more. I'm also seeing where people are, coming from the old world, old marketing world, where they're kind of a program manager or a group product manager, and then they're just kind of all of a sudden thrown over into being a product owner or a group product owner. And there's specific differences between the two, as we all know, and a lot of product owners are struggling. And it's kind of the same way that some project managers are also struggling with this, being more of a servant attitude. They're coming in with their driving, I'm running the show kind of thing, and they're driving for things. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't know how you guys are seeing with that.
Mirko, what's your view of the world there with certifications?
So, if I can tell my view, definitely the fragmentation is very, very big in terms of what certification are available. But I'm also seeing that certification stuff, one of the leading indicator whether one is a good candidate for a job or not. So I still seeing a good entry point, and then delivering is key. But delivery comes years after or months after. So I expect that most of the choices are still based or still consider quite a lot certification.
Yeah, I'm a trainer myself. But I don't make my main income from training, if you like. But I have noticed a trend of people coming to classes because they need to get a badge.
Exactly.
I noticed that less so when I have the more advanced classes, like, for example, PSM2, for example, maybe a Scrum at UX workshop, a Scrum at Kanban, where you need to know your onions and agile, so to speak, already before you kind of come to those things. But I've noticed, like, for example, PSM1, PSPO, Product Owner, Scrum Master. It's my dog saying hello to us. I have noticed people really very curious about, what do we need to do to get a job, and they're the underlying kind of need that I'm sensing is, how do I get this? How do I get this badge? But to be fair, they came to the class, they had a choice, they could have just done it online. So they did show some curiosity to learn, which is good. But still, what I've noticed is with some classes that I have, thankfully less often than before, but what I notice is a situation where essentially they want to focus on, how can I pass this assessment, which is really not the way I train. I really want people to be curious, if you like, about the topic. But then, like, if I was hiring myself, Paul, I'd say if I don't know the person, I don't know, they don't need to have any badges, do they? But what helps me is if I and even if they had PSM1, for example, to be Scrum Master or something like that, it's not really until I saw that they had something like PSM2 or even PSM3 that I'd be really interested, because it kind of gives me an idea that they had to get over some kind of hurdle. That said, of course, you could just get the badge and you might have no experience with delivery. And so I think you're right, Paul, in the interview process, you need to be making sure, do people understand how to help people set expectations and so on.
Now, and unless, John, that the in the interview process, they specifically, or, the job requirements, unless they specifically say, we're looking for a very junior Scrum Master, because I'm seeing things like in England, I get a lot of 1 to 2 year experience, junior Scrum Master, that kind of thing. So that could, the PSM1 could lead to a junior position. Maybe they were a project coordinator, and it could be a step up for them. So that could be something there too.
Yeah, of course, one of the things that I really do like about them coming to these classes is they realize that that's not what they're supposed to be doing, and they're supposed to be helping people to be more successful, aren't they? To be helping to be more effective and so on. And not to become like project manager 2.0, so to speak. Well, from a Scrum point of view, there's other approaches as well where you can have project managers, of course, within the agile world, and that's fine. But Scrum wouldn't be about that. So it's kind of, at least when people come along, if they do just get it online, fair enough. But if they come to a class, at least they're showing the curiosity to learn. And I would say the most important thing for me is that people are curious, that I nearly prefer someone who's curious and who's got an open mind than someone who's got all the badges under the sun, but actually they're just coming from a different place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because you and John, you see this right away, right? You can see after about the first half day of a 5-day course, you really can say, this guy is going to be all right because he's asking the right questions, and as soon as he comes out of here, he's going to continue his knowledge once he gets out of the class. You know that's going to happen, and maybe even 3 or 4 days after the class, or maybe even a month or 2 after the class, he's still going to ping you questions, and good questions. But going back, I was kind of talking about. There's Matthew. Going back, I think that it's more that people are in the, they're considered a senior Scrum Master, and they might only have PSM1. And when it comes to delivery, some, I've seen in the place I'm at now, they're faking their way through it. You know what I mean? And eventually, they get caught.
They do, yeah. And I think Matthew made a point there as well. There's more value in the participation than the certificates. It's sometimes they get surprised when they go to a class, I think, and they're hopefully if they did have an open mind, we've kind of moved them in a different direction. But they maybe came from a place of how do I get a job, and hopefully they went on to a situation where they could find a way to reinvent actually and do something very different. But you're right, there's a lot of dodgy Scrum Masters out there. A lot of dodgy predators.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I always use a baseball technique for everything, John, because in baseball, going American here, in baseball, if you get a base hit 3 out of 10 times, you're doing really well. You're considered an excellent hitter, And I think that rule kind of applies in life. No matter what job you're in, you'll notice that about 30% of all the people that you are doing the same job are really good, and the rest are either surviving or they're just kind of jumping from job to job, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial here as well, because I don't want to kind of tar everybody with the one brush, but like I find that Scrum Masters who are part-time tend to exhibit the kind of the misperceptions, if you like. They do what everybody in the organization thinks they should be doing instead of what they actually should be doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if they're full time, they kind of, this is what I'm doing, and it's not about me being a better marketeer or a better legal person or better whatever. They actually want to be a Scrum Master. They want to be an agile coach or something like that. And it really helps.
You know, John, going to Matthew's comment is actually a good one. One of the really good things about going, if you guys out there, if you're going to choose a course, it's better to go live than online. And the one of the reasons why I say that is because the participation is what what Mike Matthew said, but you also get the connections. I mean, I'm still in connection. Going back about 12 years now, when I took my first Scrum Master course, I'm still in touch with about 3 or 4 people from that first course. And when I was in the UK, we met up probably once every couple of months for dinner and started chatting. But the going to the actual course is a lot better than online. It may cost you a little bit more money and meals and so forth and travel, but going live is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, and what I noticed as well, Paul, is when the people go to the advanced classes, those people, they almost become a cohort.
Yeah.
And they definitely grow together, and I have definitely seen that, and I've seen people connecting with each other.
Yeah.
A few more comments I can see here. Thanks, Matthew, for this. Well, Matthew, maybe you can jump online. You got a link there. Maybe you can jump in and join us.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
You sit back on the couch and think, let the guys crack on, right?
Yeah.
So what
he just wants to throw things out there.
Yeah. It's okay too. We're very happy with that, Matthew. Thank you. So what do we think about workshops over certifications? Depends what you mean by workshops. I guess you mean training.
I was going to say.
Right?
What do you mean by workshops, Matthew?
Yeah, maybe you can ping us back with that one. And Mike has a comment here. Is it a mutually exclusive proposition? Why not do both certs and workshops? So, yeah, most of the workshops would come not with an automatic badge, but you'd kind of get you get a code or whatever to kind of get a badge if you like. But I can see Matthew has answered that as well, saying certificate I think it should be certificates. I think is more like a club and acceptance. I would promote mentoring and skills building. So actually that relates to another point because Matthew talked about renewals as well. So depending on which org you're with, you might have to pay renewals.
Oh, okay.
Like with
you mean kind of like safe, you have to really keep up with your stuff as well, right?
I believe so, yeah. I think it's the same as Scrum Alliance, not so much with scrum.org or prokanban.org, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it depends on where the renewals are coming from. If the renewals are genuinely about are we learning, are we building more skills? Then yeah, of course, that's you're demonstrating that you've done extra things. You ran some meetup group, or you gave a talk on something, and you're kind of proving, if you like, that you've done something extra. But if it's just a kind of a money-making machine, that's where it gets a little bit cynical, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I kind of agree there. The workshops are really a certificate. I mean, I've done it too, John. I mean, I've got to be honest. I've gone because a company said, okay, well, we need you to be at a certain level, so I went and took the course, right? But the fact was that while I was there, I still made sure that I knew it because I know for scale for SAFe 5, I had to pass the test, right, and do well on it. So like everybody else probably did, you can't just fluff it off and say, okay, I just want you have to actually pass the test. There are some Scrum Master courses, John, and probably know them more than I do, that you just got to show up literally and you're a Scrum Master.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, kind of an easy test.
Yeah.
And Matthew's come back here as well. And so he's got a couple of comments. So one of them is, oops, clicked on the wrong one. Engaged hands-on specifics rather than how to pass exams. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a really good one, John. Here's a good
Yeah.
one. And John, you kind of did this with me. You know, you did the a lot of product owners, like, you know, when they, you know, just to get their certification, they kind of need to lead a workshop with the business, right? And that's can be, if you're not, it's not something that they really teach you in the certifications. But when you did the was it the, I can't remember what it was, and it's really stuck with me, and I use it even as a Scrum Master. Was it the map search? I can't remember what it's called again. What mapping?
Oh,
The
story
mapping
mapping.
technique.
Yeah, story mapping or
So
impact mapping.
that could be that one, the mapping, story mapping. That's it. The story mapping, that was really powerful when you taught me that. And that's something that could be a course all onto its own, like a 2 or 3 day course, because that is one where a product owner could really take that and apply it from day one. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if they took the course, they would be thinking, okay, how am I going to do this workshop? I saw someone do something with some stickies and things. Maybe that'll work. But that story mapping was specific, and you do specific things and you get a specific outcome. And I think that could be what Matthew's talking about, that kind of a workshop as opposed to the certification, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of the time when if I'm launching a Scrum team or a Kanban team, for example, the week before I might spend maybe a day with some kind of leader or person or product owner for the Scrum and say, what's our vision, what's our product goal, kind of thing, where are we going, and then go to the team and say, well, I'll ask the product owner to say, can you just say to the team you think this product goal is crap or this vision is crap, and ask them to come up with a better one, and they always do. And then they're really lit up themselves, and then they build out that story map as you talk. You know, you break it up into little sub goals, if you like, and then high level deliverables and more detailed deliverables. And yeah, it's really powerful, and it's a great way for the team to understand the problem or the opportunity that's in front of them and how that breaks down. And I even remember a lady, I was in Baku one day, and she said to me, she said, she was being self-deprecating when she said this. She said, even I understand this. I said, what do you mean? She said, I can see how the vision's been implemented by the developers, and the developers can see how they're contributing to the vision. So yeah, that's a workshop in itself. And I actually do that in product owner class as well. We're not supposed to do that, but I kind of add that on. And
that's a huge bonus. I don't think people realize what a huge bonus that is.
Yeah. It's a wonderful book as well. Jeff Patton wrote the book.
Yeah. Maybe you could, John, I was just going to say, you and I know each other so well. It would be great if you could post even the Amazon link or whatever, so people could see that, because that is an extraordinary book.
Yeah, it is, but it's fantastic. I will do that. Yeah. See a few more comments coming in. So Matthew, I'm safe, by the way, but it's like the whole money-making machine, even when I practiced it. So you said present tense and past tense there at the same time, Matthew.
Yeah.
Are you in denial? Go on, admit it. You're still doing it, Matthew, right? You're still doing it, man, right?
Yeah.
I'm joking, man. Just pulling your leg.
Actually, you know what? I have to agree with him on that. There is a little bit of that. But, you know, John, let's be honest here. You ran into that with the Kanban, right? With where they're kind of saying you can't use our materials and all this kind of stuff, you know, without our permission. You got to give us a chunk of your course revenue if you teach anything that's so. I mean, I totally understand. But I understand, you know, from their point of view as well. But you know, people like Matthew and myself are promoting their techniques, so I think it's actually helping. You know, like this is what we did with promoting that guy's book, the story mapping book. You're going to post that up so people can get it later. But yeah, there is a money making aspect, and it is quite high actually. But yeah, I mean, I use the safe stuff as well. But I don't talk about the money making part of it.
Jokes aside, though, right? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of safe, but to be fair to a lot of people out there, they need to be certified and safe to get a job.
Yep, you do.
It's taken over Europe now. It's already taken over the United States, I believe. And
Yep.
people
Well, they're more
who
are they still more
Yeah.
PMI based in sorry, I haven't are they still more PMI based over there?
there's the PMI is still very strong, and they bought Flex, and they bought, what's the other thing, Disciplined Agile. I'm not sure how much traction they're getting with that, but the PMI is a massive organization, so I'm sure they'll do something. But I'm just not seeing it. I'm not seeing people asking for Disciplined Agile, and I'm not seeing them asking for Flex so much, at least where I'm working. But I'm seeing a lot of demand for safe, less. Nexus, flight levels as well. Flight levels is very exciting.
Okay, can you give us maybe a briefing on just a quick little introduction on the last one that you mentioned? I don't know much about that one.
Yeah, so like I'm not really qualified to say, but I'll do my best, right? But basically, there's a whole flight levels academy, and essentially you could have a team working any way they want, really. They could be doing Scrum, or they could be doing Kanban, or design thinking, or whatever it is, and or they could be just doing stuff, And so all those teams, they might not even be teams, actually. They might be just groups of people. That's fine. They can only achieve so much agility on their own. Klaus Leopold has this lovely strapline: agility is not a team sport, it's a company sport. It's kind of genius, because a lot of teams that we work with, they get frustrated, because they send work over those guys over there, those gals over there, and they've got complete different priorities, and they don't even acknowledge the dependency when we send it over there. Or even worse, we didn't tell them actually that we were sending work over there. So it's just like chaos. So what they do is, flight level 1 is you could do whatever you want, Scrum, Kanban, whatever, pick your poison. Then they have a coordination level. And so you could do it for a project, a program, for a department, but usually it's for like a value stream, from the point that a customer asks for something to the point we actually give them something. And so you could have maybe 10 teams all kind of joined up somehow, zigzagging across the company, delivering value. The team here, and they're doing Scrum, but God love them, they're only working at this tiny piece of like a 3-month value stream. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So what they do with flight levels is you kind of connect all those boards at a kind of coordination level. You can basically elevate. You can see where the heat is. You can see where the work is getting stuck. You can see where the bottlenecks are. And then that's flight level 2. And then flight level 3 is like where you have your strategy, if you like, what are we going to do this quarter? What are we going to do this year? And then they can see as well, though, the work that's in progress. Oh, that stuff that we started is only 12% complete. What's going on there? Because it's all rolling up, you see? So what they do is, when you get flight levels, you essentially connect the strategy with reality. And you can also glue the different islands of Agile around, or Lean, or whatever you're doing. So it's really, really nice. It's got a set of patterns, and it's getting very popular. I'm hearing a lot of. I'm using it already with one client, and another client is thinking about it, and it's kind of catching on. And you
that's
kid
interesting.
on the block. Well, you old kid on the block is about 10 years old, I believe. But
wow! John, honestly, I really haven't heard much about it.
Yeah, they did a bit of branding the last couple of years, and it's kind of lifting up a bit now. So it's kind of, they probably called it something else before, But kind of good idea, isn't it? Kind of like they got a great metaphor. Lovely book, by the way, Rethinking Agile, I think, by Klaus Leopold. Lovely little metaphor in the book of an airport, and the planes can't land because there's no bloody space for them to land. There's no capacity.
It's not the Denver airport, is it?
It probably is. Maybe JFK.
They're actually, Matthew has one there, so I agree, but I also think it depends on where you are in the learning journey. Definitely.
Yeah, that's Mike. Yeah. So it depends how curious you are, and and Matthew, that's what he meant. Perfect. And even when someone hasn't practiced in the year to get renewed, that's a bit weird, Matthew, isn't it? When they're just kind of taking the money, and actually what I noticed as well, I won't mention the organization, but I remember when I used to do my renewals and all that, and you'd put in stuff. I could have put in anything, but I didn't. I mean, it was real. I mean, I had real stuff, links and all that, but I could have just made stuff up, actually, and just, I'm not sure how well they check it, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? I'm at safe 5. And I just put safe. I don't put the number.
Yeah.
But
They kind of catch you know with the digital badge, don't they? Because it'll show up as not being valid anymore, won't it?
Yeah, probably. You know what?
Yeah.
That's why I just put safe. Nobody ever asks you, what is it? Safe 5, 5.5? Which one?
Yeah.
So, but I
so
think, and again, John, that's why I say the experience. You know what I mean? Because now in the role that I'm a release train engineer now, and there, the safe experience is good because they're implementing safe. Which brings me to the next question that I would like to, I know maybe it's not there, John, but agile coaches. Here's something I'd like to bring up. So as a release train engineer, I've also got to do the budgeting. I'm doing the budgeting for the what is called the CPO, which is the chief product owner for the train, or for the art.
Yeah.
Sorry. And a couple of the release train engineers are not to put them down, because I've been an agile coach many times, but when it comes to safe, and maybe some of the other ones, John, that you work with, agile coaching, the expense of bringing in an agile coach, I'm kind of wondering, do I really, for the benefits that it would give, okay, and the costs, possibly even the high cost. Matthew and Mike, maybe you have comments on this. I'm kind of questioning the value right now in the safe area. If you're doing other things like you have Scrum, bunch of Scrum masters, you're not having the scaled part, and you're new in a company, you want somebody to set the pace for them. I understand that, but in something that's more mature, I'm kind of wondering, you know what I mean? I don't know how you guys think about that.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting area. So, like, for me, if I had a choice, I'd probably prefer to be in a leadership position where I can make things happen, rather than kind of coaching someone who is a leader, because I mean, which is what I do, and it's difficult, because if the people in front of me aren't ready to listen, it's kind of like a game of patience, really, waiting until they're ready to, and they might never be ready to listen. And there can be some techniques as well, of course, in helping people to get ready to listen, but sometimes they don't. And actually, in the last week alone, Paul, I had 2 calls from companies where basically the CEO would maybe would like a little bit of help, or and kind of going and like bigger companies and smaller companies. And basically what's happening is the teams have their thing, the Scrum, Kanban, whatever they're doing, and then you've got the scaling people doing what they're doing. And I won't put them all under the one brush, because they're very different. The way they think, flight levels would be very different to less, very different to safe, and so on. Right? I wouldn't kind of put a slash between them to kind of say they're the same, but there are solutions. Not so much solutions. You can't buy agile in a box, but there are things you can start with. Let's put it that way, right? There's patterns you can. But really, with senior leadership, there's really very little other than you need to do a little bit of servant leadership and all this kind of stuff. And there's very little kind of tangible stuff about if you want your organization to really succeed, what you need to do. So if there were to be coaches, I think the most effective place for them to be would be actually with the senior leaders. But at the same time, I wouldn't like those coaches to be so disconnected from the real work that they don't understand what's going on. But there's a little paradox here in my experience, because sometimes what happens is, if I work with teams, the senior leaders will think I'm not important enough to talk to, because I'm talking to people in teams. Do you know what I mean? It depends on the culture of the organization I'm dealing with.
Right.
It's a really tricky thing. So for me, coaches can really help people to change if they want to change themselves, but if they don't want to change themselves, they're all wasting their energy, really.
Well, I bring this up, John, because granted, you know me, I've been doing agile coaching for a while now as well, but it's the value part of it. How much of that, and basically in a scale setting, it might be with less as well. Mike's talking about less. Just the value, because you need to look at, if I'm, you're bringing in the average coach, it could be, about maybe 700 pounds 650 to 700 pounds a day, right? And I'm kind of wondering, is it, you kind of look and go, okay, you know what? I could use you maybe 1 or 2 days a week, but I don't know if I could use that 5 days a week. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do, yeah. I just remembered I forgot to put the UNHCR thing back on, so just put the graphics back on. Hope you don't mind. Yeah,
Yeah,
I do, yeah. Yeah. So the thing is that really for the coaches to be really effective, they probably need to be even more expensive, because a lot of the time senior leaders kind of listen to people who they spend a lot. One of my friends said to me years ago, if you're talking to an executive, I'm not saying I'm in this league, but I'm just saying he said, and this was like 10 years ago, he said, unless you're charging £1,500 a day, no one's going to listen to you.
I know, it's true.
Yeah, and
True,
so
man.
there's a bit of that as well, isn't there? It's like, so
big time.
I'd almost prefer to have a coach who could really have an impact, even if you only had them for a couple of days a month, if they could, like, because a lot of the time you have to do the change yourselves anyway, so maybe give us a little nudge and then kind of go away and then come back and then see, did you do anything, or like what's going on, so it's kind of a tricky one for me, but I do see the value of coaching, because I am a coach, but I'm also an advisor and a teacher now. But I know what you mean, Paul. I think if given a choice, I prefer to be stuck in the middle of actually making a difference, where I had an influence, or more of an influence, had the power as well to make the change, if that makes sense.
Now, John, I can see very early on in the agile process where you're doing, less or scaled agile, Kanban, whatever it is you're doing. Very early on, I can see, the coach's value being there to get things going. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, let's say somebody comes in for 800-900 a grand, and maybe that's high in this market is probably high, but you're bringing them in for a day. I mean, how do you demonstrate the value of that? So let's just say it's 3,500 to 4,500 a week. How do you justify that?
I had to deal with that old chestnut very recently. Not only how do you justify a coach, but how do you justify an entire change team?
That too.
Because a lot of companies they might call it a transformation team. I don't like the transformation word, but people sometimes organizations need a bit of a nudge, and they kind of
the banks love that stuff, man. They eat it up.
Yeah. And so it's the same question. So there's loads of models out there and all that kind of thing. But like if the teams do well, or the organization does well, and the coach is there, or the change team is there, is it because of the coach of the change team, or is it because the teams are just good? Because they could have had a bad change team or a bad coach, or it could be vice versa. It's really, really tricky. I think what I like to do instead is, because it's an almost impossible thing to answer, really, but it's similar to, like, how do you know if you got a good scrum master? Are things kind of going okay? Are things going in the right direction? Are people improving? Is there a good buzz about the place? Do people feel human? Does it feel authentic? Are we getting that feel for it? Now, no one can take the credit for that, but I'd rather not have hard measurements of success and just more kind of fuzzy stuff, because what's going to happen is people just pull those levers and they just go for velocity, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's deliver more stuff.
We did 30 points this week.
Let's deliver more sausages.
Save those for the demo.
Scrub the rug. Love that word.
Get some beer on the Fridays. Yeah. It's actually funny how many, years ago they used to do that. Like, I used to work at Financial Times, and we used to have beer and sandwiches and stuff. Since over the last 3 or 4 years, nowhere have I been where they've at the end of the sprint and celebrated those things. Maybe there are a lot of companies out there still doing it, but it used to be a lot of them. But now I'm not very many.
The reviews I really love are the ones where the pre-read is all sent out in advance. Michael Custers did a lovely blog post on that a couple of years ago, and he said, like, he says basically you have a kind of a Steve Jobs style sprint review if you have Scrum, or I was actually doing Kanban, kind of like a review, kind of monthly review. And so we sent out the pre-read, and I honestly thought, I have to confess, I thought nobody would look at the pre-read. They did. and
Wow.
they came in and they were informed, and we're getting down to the really talking turkey about what we're going to do next. And VPs, where a VP actually meant something, like really important strategic decision makers, were deciding where we were going to put the books.
That's
we're talking about
impressive,
hundreds of
Sean.
millions of dollars.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but most of the time I just see PowerPoint written on top of a
Absolutely.
Excel spreadsheet on a PowerPoint slide.
Yep.
Like, oh,
just change the date, change the date,
yeah, exactly.
and the budget figures, and that's it.
So getting back to Mike's question here, right? So or
Yeah.
comment, but he is responding to Matthew. So he likes less. I love less. I'm a less friendly Scrum trainer. That doesn't mean that I'm cranky. It's a thing. It's actually less friendly. It can be less friendly. Friendly to less, in other words. And yeah, the ethos is it's really more about the entire system that you're dealing with. And Scrum.org would support this message as well, that, what's the difference between a Scrum Master and Agile coach? And the joke is like $200 a day.
Yeah.
Because if you're a decent Scrum Master, you should know about the other stuff. You should know about product management, design,
Absolutely.
Kanban, all these things. And if you're a Kanban guy, if you don't know about Scrum, like what are you doing? Like, I mean, like most of the world is doing Scrum. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, and you need to be working at all levels. And so, but in particular, unless, while you might spend a lot of energy with the team at the start, and this is where, when I come back to your point earlier, Paul, about, it's okay to kind of get him off the ground. But actually what you'll find very, very quickly, what I noticed with teams that are reasonably agile, they get to a stage where there's actually much more stress than when they started, because now they've hit the ceiling of the organization.
Absolutely.
There's crap happening that, that they need help to fix, and unless they're really good at kind of helping managers and leaders to see what's going on, they have this thing called system modeling and other techniques. I really love that, Mike. So thank you for bringing that up. Just look at some more comments as well.
And they don't need a transformation team anymore.
Right. Actually, that's a very clever thing. Yeah, it's a very clever thing. Unless they have an overall retrospective. And so, like, they kind of dodge this change team bullet, so you have the overall retrospective. So each team has their own retro, and at the overall retro for the 8 teams or whatever, managers are invited. And they're invited because they probably have more power to remove impediments than Scrum Masters do, because they've got budget and power and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's really cool. Lots of comments here. Let me have a look at some of them. So Matthew's saying, not one to compare frameworks or patterns. That's fine, Matthew. I do. I love doing it. I blog every now and again about that. And actually, there's a new one coming out soon as well, by the way. Scott Ambler, he's part of PMI now, and what's the other chap's name? Alan Shalloway as well, part of Flex. Well, actually, I'm not sure if he's still in PMI anymore, but I think Flex was taken in. Ambler,
But PMI is pretty big in the UK. It's still pretty big.
It's big all over the world. It's it's and that's kind of it's kind of, I'd love to see maybe maybe I need to kind of show a bit of love, but I'd love to see them kind of going more in the product direction, going from project to product, and but P standing for project, I guess. Is that ever going to happen?
Well, because I think in PMI, you can be a construction guy, you can be you know what I mean, a lot of different things. So I don't know if they're ever really going to get away from changing that, because I think they started in the construction industry anyway. I don't think there was a computer industry that they started, if memory serves me correctly.
Matthew's asking about flight levels. I actually I was on with Jose Casal the other day for Lean Agile London and Pro Kanban community, and I showed a board on a tool. The tool happened to be Kanbanize, and I showed 3. So imagine 3 teams, right? So start of the value stream, middle of the value stream, end of the value stream. So 3 teams across the value stream, 3 team boards. So the work would start here. It would have to finish with that team, and then it would go on to the next team, and then the next team. And so I showed it going across. And so it was horizontal in that case. But what's the vertical view? So the vertical view is essentially when the work items or product backlog items in Scrum, when they move across, they'd all be children of a higher up level. I'm happy to show it as well, Matthew, if there's interested, and happy to show it up on screen.
I think he's very interested in that.
Okay, I can
Kanbanize, man.
Kanbanize. Yeah, it's a really cool tool.
Okay.
I think I have one. Notice my dog. My dog getting excited again. So if I just look here at my boards, I'm just going to share a screen and see. Hopefully that'll help, and I might give it a little view of that. Yeah, I think I've got a screen almost ready to go. I'm just going to adjust the size of my browser here and just address that question. It's not going to be perfect because I'm going side by side and it's a wide
don't worry about
Kanban board.
perfection, man.
Yeah. So,
a lot of people get the point.
So I'm just going to see if I can share my screen. I'm going to share. Yeah, I think I have it here. I think I just need a proper tab. I've got too many things going on my computer. That's my problem. I think I have it. Okay. So can you see a Kanban board on my screen there? Just take off the branding. So
Can you take out the Ukraine thing? Yeah, good.
Yeah. And I'll just remove Matthew's comment just for a moment as well. I'll be done by Matthew and I'll come right back to it. So this is a very simple Kanban board. You've got junkyard of ideas on the left, options selected to start but not working on it yet. Then so there's a team at the start of the value stream. There's a team at the middle of the value stream, and then there's a team kind of at the end of the value stream. And I basically set up a situation here where there were 3 different teams, and essentially what you can do, Matthew, is I can even show this if I can. If I go up to the next level where you got goals, I had different hypotheses going on, different options going on. And what I could have done is so you got 3 different levels of Kanban board here. You got the overall strategy, which drills down into goals. And then those goals drill down into product backlog items or work items in Kanban. And so it's a vertical view. Now, I'm not sure this is really a good example of light levels, to be honest, but it's kind of close enough in that you've got the work moving across. So if I take an item here, for example, I can say, well, I want this item to be on the value stream. So what I can do is I can say, okay, I want that to be on these other boards as well, and I want to kind of copy the information from that. I hope you can see that okay. And I'm going to put it onto the 2 other boards as well, because it's going to go through 3 teams actually. So I'm just going to copy it. Didn't even need to copy the information actually, but I just do it for the sake of doing it. And then I can add it again, of course, to the 3rd board as well. And what happens here is that if I do this, I think I made a mistake there, but it's okay. I'll just click add card. So that card is now added. So it's on the motherboard, if you like, and it's also now available on the other boards. And so what I can do is if I move this item here into options and maybe even change the color and so on, it will also move it on the other board that's gone behind it. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that though when I click on it. No, I don't. So if I actually
well, it kind of has the blue ribbon there, right at the top. Is that something? I guess. So you know what it is.
Yeah. So basically, these are the children. And so so this is what this is showing here, is that these are related actually. So the FDG is on those other ones. And so if I look actually on those boards, that actually brings up the card on those other boards, and it's actually moved on that board as well. But I need to do a different screen share to show that. But essentially, when this moves across, if I just show you here, Matthew, so if I just click on this here, click on the parent, it shakes the parent saying, here's the parent. And you can see by the color coding what's going on. Amber means in progress, blue means it's selected, and gray means it's backlog. So if I go back down to this again and move this to done, when I click back on the parent again, it actually it shows me that what state it's at. And the higher level as well. So there's roll up right up the whole way through, depending on what tool you use, by the way. But that's just a quick view.
If people out there are interested, John, in using Kanbanize, are there training courses out there for people if they want to learn more about it? Or
I'm not sure if they're training courses, but I'll be releasing some Loom videos in the coming weeks. So so people will be able to see and they'll be able to comment on it. So I'll certainly put that out.
Or is that something that you're going to get yourself involved in teaching?
No plans for that at the moment, but I'll put some free videos out there so people can have a look and get an idea of it,
Yeah.
So Matthew, I hope I dealt with that one for you. Let me know. You're saying your clients find it tricky to bring together. It looks complicated. Even Kanban is still an issue. Well, you can make a board as simple or as complicated as you want, Matthew. So one of the things is what I say to my clients at the moment is start with the simplest board of all, and then because it's more important actually that a team has a board that they love rather than the most beautiful board that the Kanban gods would like. You know what I mean? So maybe the board here that I showed you is a bit too complicated because that's the value stream that I have. If your one is much simpler, you can start off with something really simple. It will all roll up. And so that's the most important thing. And I don't know how you'd manage actually without a multi-level Kanban. I don't know how because you need some sense. Paul, you brought it up earlier today as well. We didn't talk about it here yet, though. Program management, portfolio manager. You need some sense at the various levels of what's going on in the system, don't you?
Yeah.
So Matthew says,
"Don't look at me, Matthew."
Thanks very much, Mike, for joining.
Thanks, Mike.
And then Matthew taught you the leadership. Yeah, Liz Atkins video. I haven't seen that video. I'll check it out. Matthew's a good guy, so I'm sure it's a very good video. And look at what else. Loads of more comments here. I've learned to pull coaching approach rather than push. Yeah. This is a little bugbear for me. Paul, do you have any views on this?
Well, you know what? So when I've used Kanban, right, I found the pull approach works really well with mature team members, because they can work amongst each other if that's what you're meaning. They can work amongst each other and say, hey, you know what? I think I better take this one because I'm last time, you had struggle with it, or I might need to help you with that one, that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I think if what Matthew, and it's also serving as well. Pushing is more almost old style. You know what I mean? It's like just do it. It's almost like project management. Do you know what I mean? Whereas pull, it's more team oriented.
So this is I've come across this very recently as well. So where my approach tends to be pulled. So like I'm not saying what Paul is saying is wrong. Actually, there's different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely.
And so some people are very good at coming in and they'll just kind of roll something out and that's fine. I'm kind of more of my style tends to be more of I'll look at what people really want to do and then I'll help them to do what they really want to do.
Yeah.
And if they don't want to do it, I'll try to find someone else maybe who is interested, and that's kind of the way I operate. But at the same time, sometimes what organizations expect is they expect me to roll something out even if the people don't actually want it. So the push, if anything, for me sometimes comes from the point of view at a senior level.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if we wait forever for the senior leaders to realize that agility is not a team sport, and if we don't kind of show the mirror in terms of like what's really going on, we could have a situation where people actually give up on agility and say it doesn't work, but actually it doesn't work because you're not fixing problems, buddy. You know what I mean? You're like, come on, dude. Like, how do you expect people to go faster when you haven't fixed the problems that they've been given out about for the last 3 years?
Yeah.
So I'm often a kind of a bad cop, if you like. I think there's definitely more good cops in the world, and there should be more good cops in the world. But I think there's also a place for people like me as well to kind of really kind of in a diplomatic way, but just get across the uncomfortable messages that, you can't be making unreasonable demands of your people. You can't be shoving more work in than you did last year. What are you doing? Like, wake up, smell the coffee kind of thing.
Absolutely. And John, the push, like I've always used that a little bit more on that side when you had junior members in the team. You know what I mean? And then you slowly start switching over to the pull because they know the skill set. They're used to seeing the stories, and they're kind of working with the senior tech. Okay, and then you can gradually move them over to the pull. And also the pull also enables people to learn, so they can pick. Hey, you know what? I haven't done this before, so let me choose this one and do it.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. So Matthew is addressing you, Paul.
Yep.
So he's saying there's value if org leadership get it and have patience.
Yep.
And it's coming back again saying, Paul, are you thinking about delivery people over true coaches?
Thinking about delivery people over true coaches. Depends on the maturity level again, but yeah, I am. If it's me, I prefer to have team members that are a little bit more on the mature side, and they know enough about agile. Because let's be honest, these days, if a scrum master can't coach the team, okay, then why do you have the scrum master? That's what the scrum master is supposed to be doing, right? They're supposed to be upholding the agile principles to the team, right? So yeah, I think it's less. I definitely think delivery people, because in a lot of companies, development people end up being scrum masters. So and doing the scrum master role and the development role at the same time. Some companies are saying, to hell with the scrum master, it's an added cost. We'll just let somebody do it.
They are, yeah. And what I'm also noticing as well is when there's a kind of a lower level of readiness for agility, people want advice more than coaching. But at the same time, as Tom Eller said to me years ago, don't ever give advice unless people are asking for it. But he was giving me advice when he told me that. But he's kind of right.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one.
Yeah, but it's kind of a tricky one for me. But Artem has come in. Artem is actually in Ukraine, and he's a less coach and highly valued member of the Agile community. He's in Ukraine at the moment.
I love Ukraine.
Yeah, fabulous
Been
country.
there many times.
I was at Scrum Day UA. It's a few years ago. I gave a talk on executive leadership, and I did some session on liberating structures, I remember, and I really loved it. I couldn't believe how long the distance was between the airport and the city. It was
Kiev?
like this really big city, Kiev.
You're talking about Kiev?
Yeah.
Borispol, yeah. It is far away. You got to take but you know what? Over there, Uber's super cheap, right? So
it was.
It's I can't even tell you how many times I've been to Ukraine. I love Odessa, and Nikolaev. I just love those places. But I could go on and on. But yeah, I think when I was there, I lived there actually for a couple of months. They're smart people over there, very, very smart, and they're right into the agile stuff as well. So they're doing it. And John, there's a lot of ladies that are like the percentage of ladies in doing development in Ukraine is a lot higher than over here.
Not only did I go to that conference, Bogdan Masura was there as well. He's actually fighting at the moment, Bogdan. He's using Kanban to create Molotov cocktails, believe it or not. Got it down to 1 minute, 47 seconds. But I remember I received PSM2 training, and it was really cool. It was the people there. The standard was so high. It was the highest standard that I come across at a PSM2 class. Magdalena Furlet's class was really, really good, and Bogdan was there as well. So delighted, Artem, that you're here, and we're giving you all our best wishes, and we're going to keep this campaign going. By the way, the Daily Flow will restart as well, and it'll continue to use this as a fundraising thing. So best of luck to you, Artem, and thank you very much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Prayers to your people, Artem. I love Ukraine. I absolutely love it.
So Matthew's come back, and could we experiment with short videos of self over pre-reads? Short videos of self. Do you know what? Matthew's inspired me about some other thing though, because what I've been doing is last year I was working for multiple clients at the same time and literally be going between clients on the same day, and it was like, I didn't know where I was. It was like I sorted myself out this year, so like with this company this day and that company that day, and it's all clean, and even if they kind of jump up and down, I try to, can you wait till Wednesday or whatever it is. But I started using Loom, record a video, and it's working really well. I send the video in, and then they can comment or react at exact minutes and seconds in the video. No, I don't agree with this. I do agree with this. Or they reply to the video with a video. And so it's a really powerful way of explaining things. And so,
okay.
in fact, in Scrum.org, we did that as well, because we've got the course stewards, the courseware Scrum team, which I'm part of. We have a sprint review, just like you normally do in Scrum, and we sent out a video in advance so people could actually have a preview of the increment, if you like, before the review itself. So we could kind of talk turkey about, collaborating on what to do next. So if that's what you meant, Matthew, I have been playing with video. Paul, have you been done anything with video actually in terms of communication?
No, I mean, not really. Most of the last 4 or 5 companies they use Teams. So unless they're plugins, but no, haven't really done anything with video.
Yeah, okay. Some other ones. So Matthew's saying that works at flight levels, but it's still vertical in a way. Yeah, I had the horizontal view as well, Matthew. Went across, and I'm pairing with Jose Cazal on Monday to come up with a flight level board that Jose would dream of. So that's my challenge. How can I get a beautiful board working, sideways, horizontal, and up and down, seeing the dependencies right across. So what I wasn't able to show you a while ago, because the limitations of StreamYard here, I can only share one screen at a time, one tab at a time. So the other boards were getting updated at the same time. When I move items across that board, it updated the other boards at the same time. If I block another board, it gets blocked in this board as well. So it is horizontal. But I'll do a Loom video on that, Matthew, and I'll share it so you can have a look at that.
If you can send it to me as well, John, or
put a
link somewhere. Maybe put a link in your YouTube or something.
Yeah, I will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linear, I meant okay. Thank you. And thanks for the push-pull ideas. Brilliant. Love the learning idea video as well. Okay. Thanks, Paul. Very good. And yeah, Loom is really, really cool. So one other topic, Paul, that you brought up at the start of the hour, we're almost finished at the end of this hour now.
Yeah.
You brought up the topic of program management and portfolio management.
So
maybe
I just wanted
to talk about that.
Yeah. Sorry. I just wanted to talk about how you guys felt about the portfolio management versus program management. I found that the program managers are still a little more on the waterfallish kind of side. Really the only, I would say the portfolio management is something I don't see it as new, but it pretty well is compared to program management, right? So I was kind of just wanting to know how you guys felt about a program, using program management versus portfolio management.
Yeah, it kind of troubles me. But I want to caveat this, because in companies like Amazon, for example, they have project and program managers, and they have the real agile mindset. They when they talk about projects and programs, they're really probably multi-year initiatives. Really, really big things. So they tend to focus on value. And for me, the key thing is, are we focused on value, or are we focused on outputs? And what I noticed a lot with projects and programs is we have a beautiful business case, and there's value and return on investment and all these wonderful things. But as soon as it starts, it just becomes about the scope, the money, and the budget at the time. And that really disturbs me. And it disturbs me from a number of fronts, because sometimes what people do is they set up dedicated Scrum teams or dedicated whatever teams for that project or program. And then it takes ages. I mean, it takes about 2 months in my experience for a team to really, Joe Justice says like 2 days, but like 2 months. I'm not Joe Justice, right? So like, and they actually get worse before they get better. I find. and all sorts of reasons, like the Tuckman model, forming, storming, normally performing. We were storming for a bit, and the J curve as well. You know, you've introduced a change, things get worse, and it's you know, we're just getting used to each other as well, and there's already a time expectation. The clock is ticking.
Yes.
While we're storming, and we got worse for 2 months. It's like. It's not really a good design, and then of course the quality gets dropped towards the end because, you know, we're trying to catch up that
absolutely.
time. And so I much prefer projects
things turn into pilots instead of
yeah. So what I much prefer, and what I teach when people ask me to teach, I'll say, look, what I prefer is that if you get good teams, just keep feeding them at work, and you can feed projects and programs into a backlog or a funnel or whatever, and have some person, agile leader or product owner, whatever it is, pick and work out of that and feeding the teams. There's a trade-off, because Jerry Weinberg did this. He did this chart, didn't he, on multitasking? If you're working on one project, you're 100% focused on that. If you've got two, you're not 50% in each, you're only 40% in each, because you lose 20% from context switching. Absolutely. So there's a trade-off. By the time you get to 4 and 5 projects concurrently, your productivity is nearly down to 0. So like feeding teams with projects, but kind of keep them relatively focused on 1 or 2, get those done, and then pick the next, if you like. And it's not even picking those projects. It could be a case of the red project, the blue project, the amber project, you know, the purple project. You know, a good leader, a good product owner would say, do you know what, can we 80-20 this? Can we just pick the highest value out of your red project, the highest value of your purple project? Because you know what, you've all got really valuable stuff, but the stuff at the bottom of your backlog isn't as valuable as the stuff at the other color.
Exactly.
You know, the other, you know, so that's what I try to teach, what I try to encourage people to do. But because a lot of work is funded by projects, it means that it's set up not to do it that way, and it's set up to do it exactly the way I don't want it to be done. And then, but that said, the best team I ever had, second best team I ever had, was a project team. Because despite all of these things, we I guess the deadline kind of forced us to get the result. You can also achieve that with goals, can't you? So it really troubles me. What I love about Less is they dodged this whole portfolio bullet, because first of all, I need to explain what I think a product is. A product for me, and I'm oversimplifying now, is something that a customer or end user would recognize, and they'd pay for it either with their money or their data. So it wouldn't be a platform inside a company like Salesforce. So unless you're selling Salesforce, unless you are Salesforce, it would be the ERP system. It would be like, you know, whatever product, or, you know, the services, kind of, I won't get to the service thing today, but it's they're delivering stuff. And so Bas Voda, he said a sentence to me a few years ago. He said, to a class, actually, certified less practitioner class in San Francisco, he said, a product does not have scope. So, that's interesting, because the product goes on for years, isn't it? So having this kind of multi-year value mindset over project program is key, because what I also see, and what I notice in particular in UK banks, is they deliver these projects and deliver them on time, on budget, and blah blah blah. The quality's crap, and they just screwed at the call centers. The call centers are now getting destroyed with phone calls, and that's known as failure demand.
Absolutely.
We just screwed up the whole place, basically. And 80% of the calls coming in are people complaining, you know, and they're not just complaining, they're irate, you know, like they change their phone. I mean, we change our phone like nearly every year, and they don't expect that to happen. And there's problems, you know. Sorry, I went on a bit of a soapbox there, Paul.
No, you didn't. You had to explain that.
So just looking here, a few more comments coming in. Good topic, Paul. Replacing program management OKRs.
Yes, OKRs. Oh, that would have been a good discussion. Have to save that one, John. OKRs. I have a good one on that one. We'll do it next time.
I'm gonna write that down. Make another show. OKRs.
I have a really good one on that one.
Good. And portfolio management, definitely strategy and flexibility. So for me, I was talking to Nader Talai a couple of weeks ago, and he's saying actually in the SAFE community that it's kind of encouraged actually by some of the things that he said, that actually at a portfolio level, they don't just think of like big epics or whatever themes, whatever they call those things up at the very, very top. They think of them as, they're kind of more going in the lines of these are hypothesized. These are things we don't know that these things will give value, or we don't even know if the value is there. We don't know if we can harvest that value. So they have these hypotheses. That's why in the 3-level board I had a while ago, strategy, goals, work items.
I saw that.
Even strategy is just a set of hypotheses, really. And if you think like that, rather than work breakdown structure, which tends to be the kind of project approach, we have to deliver this big massive thing followed by that big massive thing. And
But John, just very quickly, I know we're running out of time here.
Yeah,
I use the work breakdown structure. I'm sorry, you know what I mean, because I don't call it that, right? Sorry, man. I don't call it that, but I use it because it just works, man. Because when you think about it, you got your features, you got your epics, you got your stories. I mean, come on. Yeah, I know, man. But that's what it is. That's what it is. Come on. You just
we're going to have a great chat about that. Yeah, let's be honest. I mean, I talk about goals and outcomes a lot, but a lot of companies, you know what? They're still in output land. I have people that deliver projects, and then it's sitting on a queue there waiting for someone else to take it away to actually get the value. How do we know we actually got value there?
Exactly.
We don't know. That's not our job. It's somebody else's department or whatever.
Exactly. You got the transition team, right? The transition team just takes it and puts it in, and you don't even know. But we'll talk about another thing I want to talk to you, John, about, if you can write this down. I want to talk to you about demos.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
We got to talk about demos. And that is over the years, I'm seeing companies where I've had to re-implement them for the stakeholders. But we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Matches come out. We're going to close down shortly for today, but we'll probably have another show, I'd say. But Matthews come back saying, and of course, budgets, shared finance, a system rather than sub-optimization silos. I saw a very encouraging tweet from Bjarte Boynes, is it last week or the week before, that Roche did something really interesting with Beyond Budgeting. Beyond Budgeting is a way of kind of getting rid of the annual budget, if you like, and just kind of having quarterly funding and being able to flex where the money should go and things like that.
Well, yeah, that's John. There's another name for that as well. I don't know. I know it goes back to the old finance world. Zero budgeting. That's really what it is. Because
it's a bit.
Everybody has to fight for. They've got to fight for the money to do work. If your stuff isn't meaningful and it's not going to really hit the bottom line, because I mean that's what the CEO and CFO want, right? If your project's not hitting the bottom line, then you don't get the money.
Yeah,
unless it's something administrative you have to do.
Yeah, Bjarte would counter that. He'd probably say, well, what really happens with zero-based budgeting is it's just a game, isn't it? They know what number they need to get to.
Whoever's the better writer gets the
money. Yeah. Exactly.
Anyway, John, I think
we're near the end now. So good show, love it, and God bless Ukraine indeed. Our hearts and minds and all our thoughts are with Ukraine at the moment. And
yes,
I know 4 agile coaches in Ukraine at the moment, and I hope that everything's going okay for them, and that we can do whatever we can to help.
Yeah,
this is just our little contribution. I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Matthew also wants to talk about evidence-based management. We can definitely talk about that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah. And thank you, Matthew, as well, for all those questions. And thank you as well, Mike, as well, earlier on, and Artem for coming on. And delighted that you all came here. So thank you so much. God bless Ukraine. And Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show this evening.
It's my pleasure, John.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Perfect.